Oh!
Good morning, good morning. What is that, Joe?
Don't ask me.
Happy Mother's Day and happy Sunday.
Happy Happy Sunday. Beautiful day, although it's supposed to be cooler today, which actually is fine with me.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's been a little hot.
It's been too hot, but it also doesn't need to be freezing either.
Yes. Is you okay over there, Joe?
No.
Oh no.
Oh no. Are we working?
You guys are good.
Oh good.
Oh good.
I am having issues trying to get the tape going.
Oh no, not the tape. As you know, we record the show every week. Actually, we do video and YouTube, and then we record the show, or Joe records it, and it goes on our podcast on the we usually post it on our Facebook page, but it also goes at KSRO.com. You go to shows, you go to Ask the Expert.
I can't even say it either. What's
And
going
then, good grief. And then, anyway, you can watch it after the hour.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully.
Or listen to it after the hour, and we are
Maybe. If not, we'll make sure we post that video. But it always sounds good because we usually splice the video and the recording together, because then you get to hear what you actually hear on the video.
We've been putting videos together, or posting them from every Sunday, a radio show on YouTube. And it has been an interesting process.
Good grief, the editing.
Yes.
I think I just need, we need a better system, because it takes forever, because it's a large file.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're a work in progress, as with everything else. Anyway, welcome to the Real Estate Hour. And as Stephanie said, happy Mother's Day to all of you moms out there, all of you dog mom. Yesterday was National Dog
Yes,
Mom
it
Day.
was.
And
for both of us, for both dog moms.
Yeah, and to all the,
Yeah, and to Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. I had a thing in my head and I lost it.
We were thinking about all of, also, it's actually a hard day for a lot of people. I mean, me for one, I lost my mom in 2020.
Yeah.
Your Stephanie's grandma. And so, Mother's Day is always a little sad, because, you see people, all the pictures of the people with their moms, and you see, something, a gift that would have been nice to give the mom, your mom or whatever. So, I mean, and just to think about, and it just, but I'm remembering the good times, and all that we had. And then also the people that
can't have kids and don't have kids, and that want kids and can't have kids, and that's hard too.
Or moms that lost a child.
Yeah, or a child that lost their mom.
Yeah, all the things. So anyway, we're thinking about all of you. Be kind to yourself and be kind to the moms out there.
Definitely. And then also to just throw it out there, I wanted to say Happy Mother's Day to the dads too, that stepped up, or they
if there's not a mom.
Yeah, if there's not a mom in the picture, they're playing the mom role. Happy Mother's Day to you too. And then there is, so that's why I wanted to put it out there.
But nurturing moms.
Yes.
So anyway, what else are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about the markets. We have the numbers for that. We have the rates.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the mortgage rates, what's kind of been going on with that. And then also, you're right, we mentioned the numbers. I did pull up the numbers from, what was the last month we just had? April. So we're going to take a look at the April numbers. And, there's a lot of stuff going on right now with a huge amount of inventory coming on the market. And depending on who you talk to, it's, panic time, which it's not. It's a buyer's market, which it's not. The buyer does have some more of an advantage in certain segments of the market where there's more inventory now, so they can maybe be a little picky choosier. And we do see that but there's a lot of other segments of the market where it's gonna get kind of gobbled up by the buyers that have been looking and not been able to find what they're looking for. So Anyway, so we'll talk a little bit more about that. I have some really interesting information about VA loans. I took we sat through a 4.5 hour VA loan certification course.
Mostly you did.
And then,
Oh my God. Why is that going there?
I don't know. Just playing with the computer over there. Anyway, VA loans. So really interesting. Some information that I thought I knew everything about VA loans, but they're. I knew that they had like a rehab loan that you can do with VA. I didn't know that they have a construction loan where they actually, it's 100% financing if you have your full VA entitlement. 100% financing for the land and all of the construction costs that go into it to build a home on some land. I didn't know about that, and you know, you learn something new every day in real estate. So they also, like I said, they have a great program for a rehab loan as well, which is you're buying a fixer, and then they cover the cost of the basically just like any rehab loan. Your loan is for the amount of the value of the house once it's done and the cost to get it there. So it's VA loan. It's a really good product. We're also taking a course that's once a month for, gosh, I think the next 5 months maybe. And it has to do with the investing idea behind using your VA entitlement. And it's called an entitlement because they deserve it. A lot of people, there's some negative Nellies out there that say
they deserve it.
Why do they get 100% financing? Well, because they deserve it. They serve their country.
Yeah.
This is what they get. So I mean, part of what they get, one of the benefits. But it's a great program, and there's a whole process of buying multiple homes using your VA entitlement, and it's interesting. It's a really interesting equation that they have to take to, a lot of people just think you buy one house using your VA financing, that's your entire entitlement. And now you have to sell that house if you're going to buy another house using your VA loan. That's not necessarily the case, and it depends. It's a little harder in California because of our high prices, but there are people buying investment properties, investment quote in quotes, because you have to actually live in it, and then
that's right, yeah.
So and it works a lot for the military that are currently active, that are moving around, and instead of selling a house, buying another house when you move, hang on to that other house, you have some entitlement left, get another loan on the new house, and just bounce around that way, because you're bouncing around anyway.
And I was gonna throw out there that we do know some really good lenders that work with VA buyers.
Yeah. We know some really good local.
Yes, and we can, if you are interested, we can
connect you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love working with
I am not fighting my words this morning.
Anyway, so we'll get deeper into that a little bit further in the show. We're going to talk about, and then last week, it was brought to my attention by the two other people in the room that I was throwing out information that I wasn't clarifying. So, because we do that sometimes, especially when you've been in it for a long time, as I have, and even Stephanie kind of being in it in the background, and then in it for the last 2 years, coming up on 2 years now. I've had your license. But talking about the non-contingent offers, and talking about, and then we were talking about
I know what it is, but I think we should explain what that is.
No, I know you know what it is.
Okay.
I know Joe even knows what it is, but because he listens in to the show, but a lot of people don't, and I just kind of was throwing out these words.
Yeah.
So we're gonna kind of clarify
it's the
that.
same as when you throw out those acronyms, and
not
everyone knows what that means.
Exactly. And then the other was month supply, and I do want to get a little bit into, when we talk about inventory, we also talk about month supply of inventory.
And then the buyer's market and seller's market, I think, is an important thing to kind of define what makes
exactly
it,
that,
and what does that mean? Yeah. Because if you don't know real estate, and if you're new to it, or you just don't pay attention to it, you don't know what any of this means.
I know, and we just kind of throw out these terms sometimes. So we'll talk, that's everything we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
So let's take a break, and when we get back, we'll dive right in. We'll talk about the what happened in April, what's happening currently in the market, what we're seeing, and that'll kind of take us right into that conversation about month supply of inventory and all of that. We'll try and combine all that together, all right? So, Joe, ready for a break? Okay, let's take a quick break. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We are the Norman Home Team, and you're listening to the Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back. Good morning, good morning. We're back, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms.
Mother's Day. Oh my gosh, if you did not make plans way ahead of time,
everything is booked.
Good luck to you.
Right.
We waited. It didn't even feel like it was the last minute, but apparently it was. We waited, last week? When was it?
Yeah, middle of last week.
Yeah, middle of last
or
week.
Even, yeah, beginning. It was like Tuesday, and all of a sudden we're like, oh shoot.
Yeah, and everything was booked. There was nothing. It was so hard to find something.
I know. Just a lot of nice buffets and brunches out there and all the things. So,
we prefer going somewhere where we can make a reservation and not have to deal with waiting in line and hoping we get a table and all the things.
What was that one year we went? One year we went. It was a whole bunch of us went, and we made reservations. I forget even where it was. It's a restaurant that's not around anymore. Maybe that's why, but it was horrible. It's like we made a reservation. There's this huge line going to the buffet, and it was ridiculous. But anyway, that
okay,
place
so
failed.
maybe not always make a reservation.
But no, but it is definitely better to have a reservation.
Yeah.
Or make some breakfast at home. Make mom breakfast in bed. And that's the thing. Sometimes your mom just wants to do nothing today, you know. So let her do nothing. Take care of things.
No, we're doing something.
I mean, if she wants to do nothing, let her. I'm not saying me, but I'm just saying. I mean, especially like moms with young kids, you know, that are still taking care of kids. You know, let's go do something for Mother's Day. It's like, you know, the vacation where you go on vacation. It's really, you know, I've heard a couple of comedians just recently kind of make a joke about that it's.
Oh yeah, if you're bringing kids, it's a.
It's not a vacation.
It's not a vacation. I forget what they called it.
It's like take what's happening at home and bring it somewhere else, basically. You know. So anyway, so be nice to your mom today, and let her do what she wants to do, not what you want to do. Okay, so let's talk about the numbers here in real estate here in Sonoma County. And a reminder, this is a very broad look at everything in Sonoma County. When you break it down city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood, price point by price point, type of property by type of property, that it gets vastly different. This is an overall look, an average or median, which is the middle. We take a look at the middle of the market, which fluctuates up and down based on what's happening in the market. So if you want a more detailed look at your property, your neighborhood, your city, your type of property, all of that, we can do that for you. We can narrow it down. We can give it down, and we can give you a really pretty fine-tuned look at what's happening and what has been happening in your market, your state, or a place that you're thinking of moving to. What's the market like in Petaluma, West Side Petaluma? What's the market like in Bodega Bay? Cloverdale.
What's the market like in my specific neighborhood?
Yeah, exactly. How's Fountain Grove doing? What's what are the country properties like with Sebastopol? When you look at Sebastopol, it pulls in such a broad amount of Sebastopol, and there's only one category to put when you're going in the MLS for Sebastopol. And that pulls in all the country property. It's the town, city proper, the city of Sebastopol. And so we can fine tune that there's a map that we can do, and then we can look at what happened. But anyway, so today we're taking, and the numbers are very different then. But we take for to not confuse everybody and make sure we stay consistent, we're looking at the whole market. So, and then every month we take a look at what happened the previous month. We're a couple of, the 11th? That's not bad. We could have done it last week, but really I like to give a little bit of time for the agents like myself sometimes, where we forget, you get all caught up in the frenzy of closing, and then you're so relieved that everything's done. You forget to go into the MLS and mark it sold. So I've had before, where a buyer's agent calls and says, are you going to put that to sold? Because we'll add their information, then it shows their statistics, that they close in escrow. So, and it helps when somebody's getting, when we're looking at comps, to see if something actually closed and what it closed for. And so we like to give it a little bit of time. So we're looking at it now. We're going to look at what happened in April. But first, let's talk about what's currently active on the market right now. And this is where it gets interesting, because we have 1,042 active single family homes. If you look back, and it is spring, so that's normal-ish that it's higher, but we haven't seen this many homes on the market, single family homes on the market, really since 2020. And it shot up because suddenly we couldn't sell any homes because everything shut down in 2020 in March, if you remember that. And then by May, they were starting to allow us to show properties again. So anyway, that's not really saying much that it hasn't happened since 2020, but these are big numbers. The thing is, the numbers have been really, really small. So when you see and go, oh my gosh, there's 1,042 active listings, that's good, because if your seller's not as good, because we've been telling you, you want to be one of one. You want to be the only one. You don't want to be one of 10 houses that a buyer has to pick from, because then they can be pickier. They can ask for more. They can start asking for credits. They can ask for you to fix things. They can, say, you know what, I really don't know about this one. But I would say, as a buyer, even if you have this big selection, don't sleep on it. Don't wait on it. If this is the house that you really are interested in, don't do your inspections ahead of time going, I don't know. You wouldn't do your inspections ahead of time anyway, but don't spend too much time on it, because while you're doing that, so are, 5, 10, 15 other buyers maybe.
And then with that, sorry,
no, go ahead.
Put your best offer first, because they won't always negotiate with you.
Yeah, they're not always going to counter.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm not finding my words.
Negotiate. It's the same thing. But yeah, a lot of people don't understand, or just think, and we see buyers a lot of times, and even sellers too, where they think it's this game that they have to play. Well, this is how you do it. Like with a car, you go in and buy a car. Well, we're gonna be able to negotiate, and that guy goes out, talks to his manager, comes back in, writes a number on a piece of paper, and hands it to you. That's not how real estate works.
No,
okay,
it's
so
not the same thing.
a lot of times there is negotiating back and forth, but don't assume that there will be. And if this is the house that you really want, put your best offer in. And your agent should be looking at, having conversations with the other agent, the listing agent, and asking if there's multiple offers. As much information as they're willing to give, the agent should be trying to get it, so that how strong of an offer you need to come in with, and put a strong offer in.
And cash isn't always king.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, a lot of times buyers go, well, I'm paying cash. It's like, oh, that's nice, but and maybe that'll help. But that doesn't mean you can put a low ball offer in. There might be someone that's putting in an overpriced offer, but it's a loan, but it's over the listing price. So technically, it's better than your all cash offer. And if they've got a strong pre-approval, good lender, there's no reason why a cash offer is going to be better than that.
They might even be non-contingent.
Or it might be a VA loan, and they want to help a veteran get into a home. It might be a first-time buyer that's scraped up all their money they can, and they have sympathy, empathy for them. You don't know.
Yeah, you never know what you're going up against. So yes, exactly.
Put your best offer in. Anyway, so 1,042 is the active. What's interesting here is every single week, from as far back as I can remember, at least the last couple of years, there's been 200 to 300 in escrow when I pull the numbers. So no matter how much inventory there's always been around somewhere in the 300s in escrow. It's just interesting to me that.
It's interesting, yeah.
And then when you look at the graphs, we have this trends report. Where you look at it, the pending, it stays pretty even and consistent across the board. Going back 10, 15 years, it's just, and it's interesting. That seems to kind of be our number of what's in escrow. So, don't know why, but that's what I look at it. I see it. So, so anyway, the median list price $1,162,000, or active. I'm sorry, median active price $1,162,000. The median in escrow is $875,000. Both of those numbers are up a little bit, and that, like I said, it follows the market up and down, not necessarily value, but what homes are selling, higher price, lower price. Condos is another one that's a really big number. The condos is 141 active numbers, and that number actually went up before the inventory in the single family homes got as high as it is.
Wow.
We were seeing that condo market kind of piling up a little bit. There's only 47 active condos in the market. So we'll talk a little bit later about what really does that mean, buyer's market, seller's market. We're going to take a look at that. Mobile homes, there are 88 active mobile homes on the market with 37 in escrow. Multi-units, there are 24, I'm sorry, not 24. Multi-units, 2 to 4 units, there are 72 active with 17 on the market. Land, buildable residential land, we have 291 active. That number is actually up a little bit. It's been floating around 270, 290. I don't know that we've seen it up into 300 yet, but anyway, it's been kind of floating around like that last few years, with just 23 in escrow, and that's pretty normal as well. Do you want to tell us we've got a minute, you can do it.
Yep, I can do it.
Okay,
snapshot.
What happened this last week in real estate?
Yes, so from today to last Sunday, we have new listings are at 158 with a median list price of $944,000. Back on market 18. Price reduction 98. In escrow 81. Pending 64. Closed 69.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! With a median sold price of $900,000 with 64 days on the market.
Awesome.
Congratulations to all of you who either bought or sold a home.
Yeah, congratulations. And sometimes it's both. You bought and
Yeah.
sold at the same time.
Such a process, so congratulations. Now
Yeah.
you can just breathe and be happy.
And enjoy your new home. Okay, when we come back, we'll talk about what sold in April this year versus what sold in April last year, what sold in March of like last month, and kind of compare all of that, talk about buyer-seller market. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We are the Norman Home Team. You're listening to Real Estate Hour.
Allison and Stephanie.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're back.
We're back. Happy Sunday morning. Happy Mother's Day. Just a happy day.
Happy everything.
Happy spring. Happy sunshine. All the things. Okay, so happy birthday hour.
Yes.
Okay, and almost happy birthday to Stephanie.
Oh yes, thank
Almost.
you.
Couple weeks.
Months.
Weeks.
Couple weeks.
And graduation's coming up. All the kiddos
the
graduating,
kiddos
doing
graduating.
those final things as last of their senior year.
The kiddos and the adults.
And the adults that are. You have a friend that's graduating.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
From Sonoma County.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool story. We'll talk about it later. But anyway, congrats to all the grads out there. And then, when is Memorial Day? It's coming up. Well, it's your birthday.
The weekend of my birthday.
It is. Anyway, okay. So let's continue on with what happened in April. We're gonna take a look at what happened. You were gonna.
I was gonna
remind
throw
people.
out there before we continue, because it was before I got cut off.
I'm sorry.
So we post all these numbers for the market update. We post them on our Facebook page, The Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie Norman. So you can find us on Facebook, and we have all the numbers posted. And that way, if you're trying to keep track of them and writing them down, don't worry about
that.
We share them
They
all.
will be posted, and then also there's always the recording. Normally, we're not recording today apparently, but we are recording our YouTube.
Yes.
So we're doing video for all of you out there, and we will post that on, and it's Sonoma County Real Estate Hour on YouTube.
So you are on YouTube now?
Not live, but we will be posting it on YouTube. Sonoma County Real
so
Estate
you're
Hour.
doing that
Yeah.
now. Okay.
Yeah.
All
We
right.
haven't really been promoting it, but there are like the last 6 weeks.
It's been a struggle.
definitely a learning curve.
I can relate to struggle.
I
right
know.
now.
Well, and it's mainly because it's an hour show, or it turns out to be like 50 minutes when the recording, and having to edit that. All of our editing systems are going, this is too big of a file, and so yeah, if anybody has any insight on that. So, a good program to use, because it's been a struggle. But anyway, so we are, yes, we
Can't
are.
relate to any of that.
Well, you're over there having your own technical issues over there right today. I'm sorry. Anyway, okay, so let's move on. So anyway, the point was that these numbers will be available later. So if you're scrambling to write them all down, don't worry about it. But and the reason we do this and really such a focus on the numbers in the market, because it really is important to kind of keep an eye. You hear a lot of news nationally. You hear a lot of news. Even Bay Area news is not Sonoma County news. So. And like I said, we can break it down even further for you, but following along, even just the broader Sonoma County, it really gives us an idea of what's happening in the market, and then explaining it and kind of why it matters and why this number is significant and all of that. I think it's important. So hopefully we're not boring you with all the numbers.
I know that when we don't do them, we have.
I know
to
people go,
ask for
hey,
them,
you didn't do the numbers. So anyway, so yes. So what happened in April? Sold. Like I said, we have a really higher inventory than we've seen, which is good. Don't panic. It's good. We actually needed the inventory. But we sold, you know, again, it's pretty much similar to what it has been. Last year we sold in single family homes, there were 322 single family homes that sold in April. This year there were 326. So even though we had more inventory, we still sold about the same. In last month though, we only sold 245 single family homes, and this month again we sold 326. So we definitely saw a big jump in the sold between March and April. And again, it's spring, so it's normal to see the numbers come up. And as we head towards school getting out, that's when a lot of people go, let's move. You know, let's put our house on the market. Which really you should have probably done it, you know, a month or so ago, and then you could always negotiate a longer escrow or a rent back, or you know, there are ways to make it work. Yeah, there's ways to make it work. But anyway, so not a significant change in year over year, but month over month it came up quite a bit. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that there's more inventory now. And then in the median list price or median sold price is virtually the same. Really, it was $852 this year. It was $850 last year.
Wow.
And that's the medium. Again, that doesn't mean that your home's value went up or down. It means that the value, the middle of the market, it is affected a little bit by the values, but it's also affected by how homes are selling, what are not selling. So anyway, so taking a look at the condo market, condos and townhouses, there were 32 that sold this month. Last April, there were 40 that sold the April last year. So we're down on the number of condos, and we're actually up on the number, really far up. And we've been saying for the last few months, that's a good market if you're a buyer not finding what you need in the single family home market. Take a look at the condo market. Investors, take a look at the condo market. I think there's an opportunity to get maybe to get some concessions, get a offer accepted where you've been beat out of other offers, because there's a lot more. That doesn't mean that if that condo or townhouse came on the market that is in that one complex that you really want to be in, and there hasn't been one on the market in years, when that one comes on the market, that one's going to get multiple offers and get overbids, so it all depends. So you need to take a look and have your realtor, if you're working with a realtor, have them look at the numbers and look at what's happening in the market in that specific place that you want to be or that you're selling.
Yeah, definitely.
And then mobile homes, there are 30 that sold this year in April. There were 29 that sold last year in April, so it's pretty similar. They're multi-unit, 2 to 4 units, whether it's duplex, triplex, fourplex, or two houses on one lot, 3 to 4 houses on one lot. Those are all under the multi-unit category. There were 12 that sold this last April and 8 that sold the year before. So that number's up a little bit, which is good. And land, there were 20 buildable residential land that sold this April and 27 last
Wow.
April. So that, it's come down. The number of active has been pretty consistently, like I said,
Yeah.
in that 270, 290, just, kind of flirting with 300, but I don't think it's gone over 300. But we don't sell a lot of land. It's a hard sell because it's a hard loan to get. It costs a lot of money to build. Those prices are coming down. Well, they were, and now the tariffs are probably going back up. But but there are some really good loans out there that people just don't know about. And there are some strategies that we talked about VA. We'll talk about it more after. But anyway, that takes us to the bottom of that. That's what happened in April. In all, we sold. It's pretty similar to what it was last year. Not a big significant change.
Definitely.
However, from last March to this March, the month before to March 2025, the month over month, we actually came up quite a bit. But again, it's spring. It's getting close to the time when people want to move, when school gets out, all of that. So, but no big drastic change. However, there's a lot more inventory right now. So that brings us in, I guess, to a good conversation about really what does that mean? And when you hear people say, oh, it's a buyer's market, it's a seller's market, what does that mean? It's a balanced market. So this is the way it's, if you look it up, if you search it, if you talk to any economist, what they'll tell you is a balanced market is 5 to 6 months of inventory. So right now we're at about 4 months of inventory. And that's a big number for us because it's been 1.5 to 3 months. Okay,
what does 4 months of inventory mean?
Months of inventory. That was the one where last week I was throwing that word out, or that phrase out. So month supply is what basically, if we sold no more houses, right now we sold no more houses, how long would it take to sell every single listing that's on the market? And so there's a calculation that said that they call it absorption rate is another word you might hear. But month supply, basically, if we sold no other houses, how long would it take to get rid of the houses that we have? So, and the way you find that out is you can look, there's two different ways that people do it. You can either take the sold, number of sold, the last 6 months, or you can go back a year. So different people you talk to are going to tell you different things. But so if you go back 6 months, add those numbers together, basic math, divide them to find your average. So this is your average sold price. And then you take a look at what's currently active on the market. And according to NAR, CAR, the way they look at month supply is you're gonna include active listings, in escrow listings, and pending listings. Because if it hasn't sold yet, it hasn't sold. Even if it's pending, there's some people that would say, well, pending should be included in sold because they're already locked in, but they're not. There are times when a pending offer or pending transaction will fall apart. So you don't include that. So you take the 6 months or a year, you add the numbers together, divide it to find your average, like you learned in math. When you said, I'm never going to use this. Yes, you are. So anyway, so you find your average and and then you divide. I have to get this right. You divide you divide the number of active on the market by the number that the average sold number of, not price that's sold, but the average number of properties that's sold. That'll get your month supply. So when I do that, I'm coming up with about 4 months, and I have it all written down, and really just taking a look at, yes, it's the active on the market. I'm looking at my notes here. Active on the market divided by the average sold. And that'll get your, if it's 1.5, that means there's 1.5 month supply of inventory. And so I'm coming up every way I do it, it's coming up somewhere in the mid 4 month supply. Now again, if this is a neighborhood, maybe it's the $500,000 single family home that everybody wants, but can't find, that's not gonna fit under that. If you broke it down to how many single family homes in that price point have sold, and then how many are active, you're gonna get probably a 1.5 month supply. You're not gonna get.
Yeah, isn't it like right now too with the higher price homes, like in the millions? That's like I think it's a buyer's market right now.
It is
Technically.
Well, technically not, because I didn't find any numbers. Well, that's not true. The condo market, when I did, here's what I got. Single family market, I got somewhere around four months supply when I did the math. Okay, condo market, and this was going back 6 months and then finding the average. And then that's the average sold price divided by, or the active in escrow pending divided by the average sold price. The condo market, I got around 5%. Actually, it's kind of between 5 and 6%. The mobile home market, I got around 4.5%. No, not percent. I'm sorry, months supply. I've been saying percent. 4 months. 4 months supply, 5 months supply, 4.5 months for the mobile home. And don't, if you do the math, you might get a little bit different, but I'm just kind of really averaging it out here. But then you get into the multi-units, 6.8 months supply. That's taking you into, okay, it kind of is a buyer's market in there because it's over that 5 to 6 month average balanced market. Land, 16 and a half months.
Wow.
Because there's 200 what is it? What did I say? 297. 291 and just 23 in escrow, and the average that sells really is is around between 20 and 30 a month. So when you do that math, that's definitely a buyer's market.
I asked you about this last week, and after hearing this explanation, I came to the conclusion I'll just take your word for it.
Yeah, I know, and I'm sure there's some very technical people out there going, "You're doing it wrong," but no, this is how, and like I said, people do it differently. So, and I don't know, when you hear it on the news and they say this is the month supply, I don't know what calculation they're using, but it's either 6 months or 12 months. Get your average of number of sold properties, and then you divide it by what's currently active on the market by that. But anyway, so when we say so I don't think, even if we break it down, and I did break it down, we'll talk about it after the break, but actually we're probably gonna have to put this one to bed, but because we have other stuff to talk about. But when you look at the over $1 million, it is a little bit higher. It's still, though, in kind of a balanced market. And again, it depends on the property, and it depends on the location. To say that the upper end of the market is a buyer's market, I don't know how accurate that is, because I think it depends. And I think it's still kind of a balanced market. And when we say buyers or sellers market, what we mean is there's more inventory, so the buyer has an advantage, and the sellers are going, please pick me. On the other end, if it's a seller's market, which it has been for the last 15 years, it's the other way, where the sellers or the buyers are saying, they're all scrambling, they're all pick my offer. There's more buyers than sellers, or there's more sellers than buyers. And so when you say a buyer's market, it means that the buyer has an advantage because there's more inventory. When you say it's a seller's market, it means the seller has an advantage. When it's a balanced market, which is really where it should be, it's kind of, you have a fighting chance on either side, And that's why we're okay with the inventory coming up, because we know there's buyers out there to absorb it. And anyway, we cross our fingers and hope that there are. And it really dictates how you should price your property too. If it's a buyer's market, if you're leaning a buyer's advantage or seller's advantage. And again, then if you're putting your house on the market, this is general information. If you're putting your house on the market, look at your specific segment of the market, and it really is going to be based on that. That neighborhood and that price point and all of that. Okay, let's take a quick break. Come back. We're going to talk about the VA loan. That's a very cool thing that I learned in our master series that we took on the VA loan. A lot of good stuff available for veterans with that VA loan. So I'm Ellison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We're the Norman Home Team, and you're listening to The Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Good morning. We're back. It is
Good morning.
The Real Estate Hour.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Okay, if you were trying to stream online, it looks like it's back up.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
good.
told.
Okay. But still no recording, so you'll have to find us on YouTube, and we'll post that on Facebook as well, the Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie Norman on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's, we've got a little bit of time left, so I wanted to talk about, like I mentioned, we sat through a 4.5 hour course, master certification for the VA loan and everything you need to know about the VA loan, and really probably not everything you know. There's actually an extended course that we're taking that has to do with using the VA loan, and may not work as much here because we don't have as much active military here in Sonoma County. We do have the Coast Guard training center out there, so we do have, and we've had clients that are active, and they have the BAH, which is the oh my gosh, basic, I forgot it now, housing allowance. Oh my gosh, what is it? Anyway, sorry all my military friends out there. But anyways, the BAH, but using that, it's basically a housing allowance that they get while you're actively serving, and using that and your 100% financing and investing in real estate that way, and building your generational wealth through your entitlement of the VA loan. So, but anyway, because that isn't as prevalent here, because we don't have, the big military bases here, it's not going to be as useful. But what we do want to talk about is we work with a lot of veterans, and really taking advantage of that VA loan. And the lender that put on this course, she's really good, really smart, and she specializes in VA loans, and it's through Keller Home Loans, which actually used to be Gary Keller's, Keller Williams mortgage company, and we had Keller Home Loans. It was now maybe 2 years ago was taken over by Mutual of Omaha. So they're doing the financing through Keller Home Loans. But anyway, she's really sharp, and she works all over the country except New York. So for some reason, she's not licensed in New York. But anyway, so like Stephanie said, we have some good local VA lenders, but there are also lenders out there that specialize, and I would really look into Keller Home Loans. They have some benefits for that, as far as loan fees and stuff like that. So, but anyway, so the reason why. So when we started by saying that this is a loan for those who sacrificed, however, by being in the military, sacrificed for our country, and one of the benefits they get. And thank you, Joe. Thank you for your service. We're sitting in the presence of a veteran, but one of the benefits is the VA home loan, and it's 100% financing, no money down. There's usually a little bit lower than the average or current like FHA or conventional loan, and then there's no monthly mortgage insurance. They roll some mortgage insurance into the loan. They can also roll some closing costs into the loan. There are usually a little bit of upfront closing costs and stuff like that. But again, in this market, you may be able to negotiate that a little bit. But it's a really good loan. And even if somebody's putting some money down, because maybe they don't qualify for the whole amount of the loan that they want to pay, or for the house they want, maybe it's an $800,000 house, they only qualify for $750,000 or $700,000. Then they have to put some money down, so they have to qualify for the loan. But people like to use this loan anyway because it's a better, like I said, lower interest rates, no upfront mortgage insurance and all of that. So it's a really good loan. But what we discovered, and I'm not gonna have time, and maybe next week as we're getting closer to Memorial Day, we'll talk a little bit more about the VA loan. But this is really cool. So the VA loan offers a one-time close land construction loan. So you could buy something like our piece of land that we have. We have two, one out of the Bodega Bay, or Bodega, which is listed at $395 now, I think. And then we have one on Mark West Springs Road that is 35 acres with a house, or there's one that's, or you can just get the 22 acres that doesn't have the house. If you want to know more about those, give us a call, 707-799-3617. We'll tell you more about them. I don't have time to go into detail, but we have 2 great properties, or there's other, like I said, 291 buildable properties out there, lots. But you can take this VA loan. It's called a one-time closed loan, and what's different is a construction loan, usually you're going to get the loan. A lot of times they make you buy the land, and then they'll pay for the construction of the house, and then you refinance it when you're done. This is, they start from the beginning. They're paying for the land. You're paying for it, but the loan covers 100%, no money down, covers the land, the cost of construction, the septic system, the well, the hookups, the permits, everything rolled into one VA loan.
Yeah.
This is cool because a lot of times with the loan, where it's land and construction, you have to come up with the money for the land, or you have to come up with 30% down or 20% down. There may be lenders listening and they go, no, we can do it for less than that. And if you can, that's awesome. I'd love to hear from you. But anyway, this is a really good program. Some other things with VA is, and I mention this all the time, you can buy a multi-unit, you can buy a duplex, you can have somebody else pay your rent, because you're going to live in, as long as you live in one, you can get a fourplex, and then they're all paying rent, and then you're not having to pay any rent, you're living in one, so. And then, we'll get in deeper because we're not going to have time, but there is the whole entitlement, which I always thought until recently that it's kind of a one-time thing. You have to sell the one house to get the next house because you used all your entitlement here. It depending on the cost of the house, and the entitlement has to do with how much the Veterans Administration is paying basically to insure the loan. And so it's 25% of what the median price is, the loan limit, not the median, the loan limit in that county, per county. So it gets very complicated. It's definitely the first purchase is you get better, more entitlement, more, it's a better deal, but you can still get your VA loan on a second house, leave one as a rental, buy another one. As long as you're going to live in it, you can use your VA loan if you have enough entitlement left, and the entitlement follows you around. And anyway, it's just a really good loan, and
we're going to run out of time.
We're going to talk more about it next week, and maybe a little bit here and there in the next couple of weeks, because I really want all the veterans out there to know that, and the sellers, to accept a VA loan. It's not what people have this misconception about VA loans. Work with somebody that understands them, and we'll make it work for you. Okay. So anyway, we gotta go. Get out there and have a wonderful Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of you.
Happy Mother's Day. And have a good week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
And we're the Norman Home Team. You can find us on YouTube also this week at the Sonoma County Real Estate Hour on YouTube. Look it up. See you later.